Talk today, episode 40. And again, if you have any questions, email us jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. Today, leadership tactics when it comes to a team environment, episode 40. That's our main topic today. And when I was thinking about how to sort of structure today's show with various leadership points, I got to thinking to one point that I can't gloss over, and that is culture. When it comes to leadership, culture. I think the Pat Murphys of the softball world, the Pat Summits of the women's college basketball world, the Tim Corbins of the baseball world, they've all done something in the past that has set them up for success in the future. And that one thing is establishing a culture. They did that better than most of their peers. And that's why, in my opinion, they're so successful. And if they're able to establish that culture, when it comes to leadership, in my opinion, Cass, I think it makes players at that point, when it comes to leadership on and off the field, interchangeable in that players can come in, you've experienced this, right? They take the step by step by step, and then they become leaders, as you were in your national championship season in 2012. And then they leave the program. Then the next group comes in and the cycle continues. So I think when it comes to leadership tactics and having success with that in a team environment, it all starts not just in the collegiate world, but also in the professional world, more so in the collegiate world, though, because of the rules and parameters in place. I think it all starts with culture.
Absolutely. And that's such a good point. And I almost feel like in some ways, culture is like a system, but with intangibles. It's kind of like, hey, this is what we do here. I heard somebody who played for UCLA years and years and years ago, and she spoke to us when we were in high school. She had transferred into UCLA. She went to a party with the team for the first time, and she thought she had to look cool, and she held a cigarette in her hand. She said she never spoke before. But she held a cigarette in her hand, and the shortstop walked right over to her, grabbed it out of her hand and said, "You play for UCLA. We don't do this here." And that is, a system has been put in place. There's been standards that have been put in place that say, this is what we do. This is the definition of a UCLA player, a Tennessee basketball player, an Alabama softball player, whatever that may be. And all of a sudden you fall into the system, and that culture has those intangibles. It has those, typically when we talk about culture, it's in a good light, not a bad light, although that can happen. But it just becomes so contagious and so easy for everyone else to fall in line with and fall in sync with. And I think come postseason, you start to see whose culture has developed for the better and then whose just hasn't quite clicked.